NFTs continue to be a prominent topic of conversation, especially where the gaming industry is concerned, as numerous game companies have already expressed their desire to normalize NFTs and have yet to be able to provide any sort of good reason, explanation, example as to how this will revolutionize gaming, how our lives, the players' lives, the customers' lives will be made better for it. So far, NFT implementation has been yet another form of monetization, and this push to trying to make games a play-to-earn experience where games become less about fun escapism and more about basically an investment opportunity through which game companies can continue to nickel and dime and exploit customers. Now, the one good sign that I've seen is that the amount of backlash from gamers, enthusiasts, from the media, just across the board has been overwhelming to the point where game companies are beginning to question whether implementing NFTs, especially right now when the conversation is really heating up, is worth it. Recall that with Ubisoft Quartz, their trailer video for this got mass dislike to hell and back. Stalker 2 tried to implement NFTs, but the backlash got so bad that they had to put out a "We hear you" statement and retract their NFT endeavors completely. You've got Square Enix, who in a New Year letter celebrating the New Year, the president talked about what an awesome opportunity the metaverse and NFTs are, doubling, tripling down on this crap. And then most recently, Konami jumped on board because, of course, it's Konami we're talking about. Pachinko Central here. They came out and spat in the faces of Castlevania fans and just spat on the already dead corpse of Castlevania with this link where you can buy NFTs that they're auctioning off, and they look something like this. Basically, little clips with background music. Some of these are just artwork and screenshots. This is how they decided to celebrate Castlevania's 35th anniversary. This is a 35th anniversary memorial, is how they call it, but this is the most insulting way you could have carried off a seminal series anniversary. The 35th anniversary at that, which only comes once for any IP. Which finally brings us to Sega, one of the few sensible companies, at least for now, who have decided maybe it's a better idea to stay away from NFTs as much as possible. Maybe wait until we see where this technology is actually headed before we decide whether this stuff is worth implementing, and saying if it feels like an NFT implementation is more of a money-making scheme, then we're not gonna go for that at all. That's what they say. Now, whether they live up to that remains to be seen, but this was what Tweaktown reported about in an article titled "Sega Promises to Avoid NFTs If Gamers Think It's a Money-Making Scheme, Then Avoid It Outright," because NFTs so far have been nothing but money-making schemes. I mean, there's all this touting of how this will revolutionize games, but every attempt that has been made so far, be it Ubisoft Quartz, be it what Stalker 2 attempted, be it what Square Enix is doubling, tripling down on, and what Konami is selling here in the form of NFTs, nothing about this has actually pushed the boundaries of game design or whatever forward. All they're doing is just like selling stuff to people to treat as an investment. That's all that's been going on with NFTs. And so long as that remains the case, and unless NFTs and blockchain are implemented in a genuinely innovative and boundary-pushing way for video games, this stuff just doesn't belong. It's just an extra form of microtransaction. Or hell, with how much these prices can skyrocket due to the speculative nature of NFTs, I mean, we're definitely looking at macro transactions. But yeah, this was a statement put out by Sega's own CEO in a recent management meeting, according to Tweaktown's article. And here's the exact quote that he relayed. "In terms of NFT, we would like to try out various experiments, and we have already started many different studies and considerations, but nothing is decided at this point regarding P2E, or play to earn." There's that disgusting term again. There have been many announcements about this already, including at overseas, but there are users who show negative reactions at this point. We need to carefully assess many things, such as how we can mitigate the negative elements, how much we can introduce this within the Japanese regulation, what will be accepted and what will not be by the users. It's very simple. If blockchain is somehow implemented in a way that doesn't seek to extract more money from players, but rather seeks to improve a game somehow or revolutionize aspects of certain game systems and mechanics somehow through the usage of this technology, fine, that's all well and good. But anything that seeks to turn video games into basically pyramid schemes or second jobs, or any implementation that seeks to primarily line the pockets of corporations and their executives rather than providing any tangible advantage to the player, any of that can fuck right off. The statement finally concludes with, then we will consider this further if this leads to our mission, constantly creating, forever captivating. But if it is perceived as simple money-making, I would like to make a decision not to proceed. I've said in the past, the one good thing happening right now is that the amount of backlash that game companies are seeing anytime they announce anything NFT related is making them think twice about just jumping on the hype train. It makes them actually have to assess risks involved. You know, how much is the NFT initiative worth versus the amount of PR backlash we're going to get versus the negative reputation that we're going to receive, the long-term damage that's going to be done to our image, to our brand, so on and so forth. Those are suddenly becoming considerations, and that's why I feel like a lot of companies are holding off. And the fact that people have been so vocal and there's been so much backlash for, valid reasons, all of that has paved the road to slowing down game companies from implementing NFTs, and I think it's helped slow down the trend of NFTs as a whole. Game companies are starting to see NFTs in their current implementation as enough of a PR liability that some, like Sega, are having the sense to say, let's stay away from this for now. Let's wait and see what aspects of NFTs and blockchain technology ends up sticking and ends up being tolerable for users or potentially beneficial to users, and assess the situation and then jump on the train once things have kind of died down, once the dust settles, if you will. And I think that's a far better approach than just jumping on the bandwagon because investors are in a rush. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't believe for a second that Sega wouldn't have jumped on board the bandwagon if it weren't for the sheer amount of backlash that NFT announcements tend to receive. But again, the fact that as a collective, enthusiasts and people who've called this stuff out are making companies' lives more difficult, are potentially affecting their reputation, the PR surrounding the company, and in turn, potentially their ability to make money, all of that does go a long way. I don't know if it'll entirely prevent a future where NFTs and blockchain is normalized. It does feel like that future is coming, though the hope is that the current form of NFT implementation, selling off, JPEGs to in-game items that are basically identical, save for like a different number and stuff like that, the hope is that that stuff can die down in the same way that game publishers, especially where AAA game releases are concerned, are more afraid to implement loot boxes, understanding just how much backlash they'll get. If we can do that for NFTs, make companies think that this is just not worth how much people are gonna hate the game before it's even out as a result of its NFT implementation, it's just gonna decentivize them from making this a standard, making this a normal thing. And it's going to make more companies take Sega's approach of, let's wait and see, and let's not rush to schemes that people will immediately call you out for and make your optics a living nightmare. When it comes to a long-term outlook, I think this is a much smarter decision. They should just keep making games. That's what people want out of game companies. Stop making games that are in reality monetization machines, or stop turning games into investment opportunities. Games are just meant to be fun, immersive, and be emotionally resonant, but mainly fun. People want to get lost in these worlds and escape from real life for a moment. We don't want real life economic elements seeping into our games. But unfortunately, with the rise of interactive monetization, games are becoming less about all that stuff and more about exploiting the interactive nature of games to get people into a certain behavior pattern that will have them addicted to spending money. But yeah, it's abundantly clear that the negative sentiments and outlook surrounding NFTs is helping slow the trend down, especially where the gaming sector is concerned. A trend that I feel like if we don't stop now will become normalized enough that games will be ruined even further, their potential be further marred. as if microtransactions and loot boxes and battle passes and season passes and all the different editions that game release in and all that stuff hasn't done enough damage already. But that's just one man's take on everything. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Sega's statement regarding NFTs and how they're going to bide their time with this one, wait and see, and not try to delve into money-making, scheme-related NFT endeavors. I guess time will tell whether they mean what they say or whether they'll ultimately cave to the investors and the executives' desires to monetize and make further profits. But until we hear more, share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.